Hello, this is Arun Chaudhary, and you are live on my YouTube channel, arunfoot. It is September the 10th, 2025. It's another Indian football discussion. We'll talk about Indian football and all, especially about our national teams and what they've been doing over the last few days and weeks. And of course, we'll also be talking about an outlook on things happening within Indian football. Amongst other things, of course, what is the scenario regarding the commercial rights of the All India Football Federation? Because that, I think, will take center stage. We're a little less than a week away from Asian competitions for our clubs, for FC Goa as well as for Mohun Bagan Super Giants. So we'll talk about all of those things. And of course, anything else that we want to talk about in regard to football in India. And of course, yesterday was a sad day, disappointing day in regard to the India under-23s, who gave a very, very good account of themselves in the AFC under-23 Asian Cup qualifiers. And again, a 6-0 win against Brunei. Yeah, beating Brunei, of course, was clear. But after the controversial loss to Qatar due to that penalty, which never was, and of course also Qatar coming back against Bahrain from a goal down in the 91st minute and winning it with 10 men after 99 minutes. That is that, and and that's where we are. I don't know how much you rate your 23 performances in the three games. I rate them very, very highly, because we have always struggled at under 23 level. We have to be honest that the AFC Asian Cup, AFC under 23 Asian Cup has been a tournament where we've never been able, so therefore, from that perspective, yes, I think so. Therefore, the team did very, very well. But again, against Bahrain, we did the job. That was important. Against Qatar, yeah, if the penalty doesn't happen, I don't know which way the match goes, but I would have felt the advantage was with us. And against Brunei, yeah, it's 6-0, but if you're 2-0 up after 7 minutes, then at least you have to reach double digits. That would have been my thought process surrounding that, around that game, which we couldn't reach. So therefore, from that perspective, that would be mine. But I rate the performances highly because we beat Bahrain and we more than challenged Qatar. So if you ask me, that is something which, forget under 23s or senior team or any of the junior teams, which we rarely do. And from that perspective, I would clearly say that Naushad Musa prepared the team well. And of course there is one factor which we might forget or might not talk about, but Mohun Bagan Super Giant did not release players, so that's another factor which is there, and therefore for me that's very, very important when we talk about all things, all these different kind of factors which are there. Let's see what we do. I think we took the game against Qatar. I think we could have won the game yesterday, and I think we could have won the game. And to me, I said it in the live watch along. I felt that Bamvir is a risk, because his arm was up very often. He was using his elbow. He was very lucky in the 47th, I think 47 or 48 minute of that, the added minutes, that he could have been sent off by the ref, and that is one thing where I say, if I've got Shahif in the background as my backup centre back, why didn't you substitute him? I think that would be my question to Naushad Musa, because Bamvir was on the edge and already had committed a foul which was given, and then the second instance wasn't seen. So this is one thing, and therefore, yeah, the momentum was with us, and yeah, we just couldn't take it. That's the sad part. Do you think SLK should invest wisely rather than putting all the money in the top league, as in long term, if there aren't any quality or hype, league will fail miserably? Renal, as with the ISL, as with the I-League, as with everything else, I think no one is looking at the long term. I know I'm generalizing, but not nobody would be wrong, but most of the entities who work in Indian football look at short-term success, which is the next season. That's a big problem. Some people are thinking about 2 3 years, but that's the thing, right? If you see SLK, of course, at the moment is lucky in a way that the ISL is still not clear. So therefore, a lot of ISL regulars or even foreigners who didn't find contracts are now signing short-term contracts because a lot of people think, hey, listen, you know what? Let me play SLK, let me get some money in, and then in January I can still make the switch if the ISL or even the I League happens. So therefore, these are the things. So therefore, yeah, short-term thinking. Hi, Blue, welcome back. Is Mohamed Sohail our next superstar? I don't know. He has talent, he has potential. But again, I'm very careful to talk about our next superstar because we've had so many names being suggested as our next big thing in Indian football that I'm very, very cautious about that. We still are talking about Sunil Chhetri and Bachung Bhutia. So many players have come and gone, and therefore let's wait and see what happens. Is our U17 squad ready for SAF? Ranjal, I would think so, yes. I think they would be ready. And it's a good preparation ahead of the AFC U17 Asian Cup qualifiers. Do you think having one more Supergiant players could change something in the qualifiers? Blue, I think yes, because if I look at the options I would have had as a centre back option, I would have had Dipendu Biswas, and I would have had at least Sohail Bhatt as an attacking option as a striker. So therefore, yeah, but to me, I think that the under 23s suffered most probably because those options weren't there. I think this whole Paramveer situation might not have arisen if Dipendu had been there. Because I think not having them actually was visible in some cases, so that ego caused a serious failure of India. Yeah, Blue, I agree with that. I fully agree with you on this point that this is an opportunity that we lost, period. Right? We lost the opportunity to be better, and we couldn't get the players that we wanted, that we needed to get a job done, and therefore we are stuck where we're stuck. And I think also for the under 23s, at least the Mohun Bagan players of the under 23s, I think it would have been a good exposure to play under 23 qualifiers, and so that's also a reality. So with Rati to SLK, Blue, I think there will be some interesting names going to the SLK because there's still no clarity in regard to the ISL and what is happening, and therefore, let's see. Hey, methamphetamine, I'm doing good. Roller coaster emotions the last few days with senior team, but very positive. Methamphetamine, yeah, positive on one side, but with the under 23s, I'm actually very disappointed because it's yet one of those. We've had a lot of these stories over the years, yet so close, yet so far, right? And that's with the under 23s. It would have been good to get to that level of playing continental football competition for these boys. That exposure would have been massive next year to play in Saudi Arabia. So I'm actually quite disappointed, So that's it. Have they released the squad list yet? Pranjal, I have not seen any under 17 squad list. Mohamed Sohail is next Siva Shakti. Okay. That's what I'm saying, Anibal. Someone will say next superstar, someone will say, is the next failure in the making. That's why let the boy play. He has potential talent, so therefore let him play football, the whole team, because a lot of players are being said, this player needs to go senior team and all that stuff, and again, that's one of those questions: which of the under 23 players are really potentially ready for the senior national team? I think there's only one, and that's Bikash Jungnam, in my opinion. Bikash Jungnam is again, the problem is in football these days. We talk a lot about the attacking players, about the players who are creating, but we don't talk about defensive players. And for us, as the success of the senior team showed, defense is the starting and the ending of all conversations. Forget the attacking unit, right? Talk about defense. And from that perspective, Bikash Jungnam, getting a lot of game time in the ISL, be it at Chennai, be it at the Blasters, he's one of those guys who'll have to step up, and I think he can, and therefore from that perspective, he is the boy who is, in my opinion, most likely to move up that step to the senior team. Guten Abend, good evening, Zoravar. Is it too soon to say that Khalid Jamil is the missing piece in your puzzle, or should we wait for a few more matches to decide? One of I that as happy as I am that we finished third, but if you watch my watch along and also my rants in that game, that does not end because we got we equalized and then we won it on penalties. That doesn't change. My opinion doesn't change like that, right? I stick to what I always say. I like wins and I like success, but the way we played, right? And this is the interesting one: how quickly people are changing their opinions. I don't even think they can change the undergarments so quickly as they change their opinions these days, right? In the 79th minute, we were, end of an era. Khalid out, and after the game, Khalid has been the best manager the Indians ever seen. And this discrepancy is, for me, the biggest problem that we have. The problems that we saw before are still there. For me, they're not gone. They are very much there. But my problem is that we will not talk about them because we finished third. So the introspection, and that is the problem of Indian football at all levels. The level of introspection doesn't happen. People call me a pessimist, this, that. I mean, no. I live in reality. I have seen what I've seen, and that is more than enough. And yeah, let's see. How would you see Khalid line up with U20 being called up for Singapore? Meta, name me the players. What did those last 40 minutes against Oman prove to you? At the end of the day, you have to bank on the experienced players. No one is going to talk about that. That's the biggest learning. Udanta, who people, again, Manolo brought him back. Got a lot of stick for bringing Udanta back, right? Udanta scored the goal and actually was, in attacking sense, I think one of the most, and for me, Khalid didn't play Changte, played him now, and I thought Changte did have an influence, right? And to me, that is the Rahul Beke stepped up when Sandesh moved out, right? Because of injury. Anwar Ali, I have to give kudos, solid, right? I've also criticized Anwar a lot of times. Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, and the Gurpreet thing is one thing that I've always said on, and I will repeat again and again if people want to hear it. He was and he's a number one, and I think those are very, very key factors. We go back to the experienced players. If you want to call up, tell me under 23 players you want to see in the squad, because you also have the Mohun Bagan players to add in. I would like to see Apuya in defensive midfield. I would like to have Liston and Manveer Singh in the mix amongst the wingers or as striker. We have to talk about Sunil, So, hi Uchut. Yesterday Brunei match, I thought we could have scored 3-4 more goals. Something was amiss. Uchut, I thought after 7 minutes, okay, this is going in the right direction. India can score the goals that we need, right? And but something at some stage didn't click, right? That was the problem. As you say, it didn't click the way it should have. And yeah, if Bahrain are able to score 10, if Qatar are able to score 13, I expect us at least to score 10 to 12 as well. And that did not happen. And do you consider Mohammad Sujin responsible for a failure? No. Panjal, you can't. There is no one reason, right? There is no one reason for all of this. I would think we have to talk about missing our opportunities. In all the 3 matches, I think we could have scored more goals in all 3 matches that we played. As I mentioned, I think Naushad Musa needs to have substituted Pramveer after that first half. because he was on the edge of a card. The refereeing mistake, it is there. I'm not going to go into all the conspiracies that a lot of people have put out, which are a joke in itself. Anyone putting out a conspiracy, okay, prove it then, right? Nobody who's putting it out can prove that there has been whatever, right? Prove it. If you can prove it, I will accept it, because you have to prove it with facts that it is a conspiracy. Because when the referee does mistakes in our favor, nobody wants to talk about it, right? Is anyone going to talk about the handball of Dejan Drazic against Alsip? Is a Manolo Marquez, who's criticized referees at national and international level, is he going to talk about that? Are we going to talk about the Indian women's team that we conceded a 96-minute penalty against Thailand, which was not given? Yeah. We got many chances, but we're not good at finishing against Brunei. I know Brunei playing all defensive play as more coordination can easily score more goals. Why coaches are not focusing on it? Narendra, finishing is also a skill and an art, right? Creating is one, but finishing and scoring goals is an art. And to score 10, 12 goals, even against a Brunei, who will defend, again, that's the best that they can do, because they are way weaker than the rest. That is something that we need to work on. I see you 17 team even earlier batches, but why most of the bigger kids who make it into 17 national team in long term can't even get into a national league, etc.? Is it because of the amount of age fraud? Why football is used? Then, if you look at under 17 squads around the world, most of the teams will have, I think 20% will really make it to the top, to the senior national team. I think there's a stat about 18 to 20% in general. So that's normal. For the Singapore matches, that is surely going to be very different from CAFA Nations Cup, which was 100%. This is the most important thing, because our problem is going to be against Singapore, against Hong Kong, and against Bangladesh. You know, and we'll have to win. What we played throughout the tournament was survive, hope, and luck. Indian football doesn't need any Arab-funded AFC conspiracy to play against the interest. There are people in the system who will do that on their own. No, yeah. And this is the problem, that we within Indian football, we love conspiracies nowadays so much that we're not talking about the problems and issues. And again, this we're sugarcoating, no? Becoming CAFA Nations Cup third sugarcoats all the problems that we've had. Even a 3-0 loss to Iran is being sugarcoated. Oh, you know what? 89th minute, we were only 1 goal down and then conceded 2. Yeah. The Qatar match better remind me of 1990 World Cup final 20 Germany versus Argentina. That one had a little more contact than the Qatar India one. Which would 1990 was clear-cut penalty. We're not going to talk about that, right? No, but there are situations. Again, you want to talk about Kukurea last year, Germany, Spain in the Euros with VAR, not given. And UEFA 4 months later says, you know what? Mistake. Mistakes happen. I don't like them. This is human beings, but yeah. And the next important games are on 9th and 14th. So do AIFF have any plans to give players some off match fit, because we can win both matches? Pranjal, the AIFF at the moment is worried about trying to ensure that the season happens. So let's look at what they're going to do on that front, and then let's see. So the players go back again. The Goa players are now going to focus on the ACL2, and hopefully all the other teams are going to start training for the Super Cup. It's a shame we didn't qualify. To feel that with our best squad, things could have been different. Maybe if entire team, including Musa, didn't buckle under pressure, we could have qualified versus Brunei. Methamphetamine, it's a very theoretical discussion. As I said, I would have thought Dipendo Vishwas and Suhail Bhatt would have made the team stronger, surely. would that have been the case? I don't know. You know. So that's the thing. Sir, not hyping, but a better H team preparation scheme, quality foreign coach, better planning by federation, something like the 17 World Cup. Then at least in Asia we could perform a bit better Asia Cups. Only at the moment we are at a level that you would have to the under 17 World Cup thing was planned for 2.5 years. When we came around with the idea in 2015, when things got sorted and said, hey, listen, you want to take a German coach, you want to do extended camps here in Germany, and the AIFF said yes, that is all started. Irfan Yadwar is being called fraud by Indian football fans, many telling him to be dropped. So they didn't have many options, right? The coach persisted with him, which can be on one side question, but I think we don't have too many options. If I'm looking at strikers, my problem is if I want to look at strikers and look at options, then I end up with Sunil Chhetri. I see no other Indian striker at the moment being able to do what Sunil does, because Irfan Yadwar is actually overall, one of our better ones. So I don't know where the rest ends up, right? So that is a problem, right? Who are our other striker options? Your opinion regarding Khalid Jamil performance as coach till now? Zorawar, I said what I think about it, and the problem is because he's now won, he's been made a superstar, a superhero with the achievement. Again, the achievement no one can take away from him. But I saw those 4 matches, and if I'm living on hope and living on long throw-ins and maybe some corners, I don't know how that's going to work, right? And therefore, there is a lot of stuff has gone in a positive way for us in the last few weeks and months, which have gone against us in the last few years. Hopefully, it stays that way. But this way to win, if you want to win matches and play defensive, I need at some stage a plan B. And the thing, what I also felt, we always talk about Kafa, we want to play in Kafa. The Kafa Nations Cup level didn't convince me. I mean, looking at the final, Uzbekistan, Iran, those teams playing the World Cup next year, I saw Spain versus Turkey, and Spain scored 6 away in Turkey and could have actually scored more. That's also reality, right? The only silver lining for Kafa Nations Cup in 2020 is that the players seemed a little bit more involved than the Manolo era in last few matches. Too much. Uchut, yes, and I think there is a key factor in that. It starts with Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, who wanted to make a point that I am number one. He went back to Stabæk, trained over there, and has proven that he's India number one. I think without Gurpreet, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we got. And so for me, that is one. You saw, especially the first 2 matches, the players wanted to play football. I think the whole Indian football, or the Indian men's football scenario helped the national team, that the players, and that has helped us. And again, yeah. So from that perspective, sometimes you have to be there at the right time, in the right place at the right time. Manolo came at the wrong time, couldn't do something. Last summer, this summer, the situation has been different, or this sort of autumn season has been different because of the whole Indian football scenario. There was a desire of the players to play, which was not there, right? Which was not there before that. At least I would want Mohamed Sohail Bhatt and Makato in under 23, so Irfan was not able to finish, and with that combination good passing, which these players could do that. Metaphysics, the problem is that you need to remember under 23 and senior level is is different, right? So that is one thing you need. I think none of these guys are actually capable of playing in the senior level. And if Irfan Yadwar is struggling the way he was struggling, then ask these players to do what they did, because MacArthur is in a position where you've got options. I think if you look at that Brandon didn't play, you didn't have a Sahal, you could have an Anirudh Thapa in there. Again, more defensive. We lacked Apuya. Wingers, I think we've got many, but the question is finding the right ones. I think one thing is very, very clear. Vikram gives me the energy, and Changte gives me the quality. And yeah, let's wait and see. The best thing about Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, he was not preferred by Monroe at all. Okay, he didn't give up. He packed his back to Norway train and made his point to be number one. Name another player who would do that. Manmohan, I think, in a different way, most probably Sandesh Jhingan. Sandesh would do that in a different way. Sir, as you said, players can't sign Europe, but somehow, like Gurpreet, many others in past cities of training camp support, like one club partnership with other or national, just training only. Ugni, it's on you. There needs to be no partnerships or whatever. You can go on training, right? You can even go on individual trainings. It's on you. What you want to do, how you want to do it. Gurpreet has chosen a path which he thought was good for him, and it was not only good for him, but it was right by him, for him, because Gurpreet got to train at a level, at a club where he's been in the past and he knows. So therefore, let's see. Mohammad Subir is nowadays a common escape for any problem with Indian football. If they allow players, these senior football fans would say that Indian football players won't. Zoravar, yes, but the problem is also what I see with Indian football fans at the moment is, and I understand that we are desperate for a little bit of success, so therefore for me, yeah. Can any player make this under 20 batch go outside India? Ixander's gaming, yes, theoretically, yes. The question is who will want to go abroad and slug it out. It is not easy to go abroad for an Indian footballer. Do you think Khalid is the right man for the senior men's national team? Started in a good way, but we would see how his tactics work in Singapore nation qualifiers. Orithro, I still don't think he's the right man, but he's had success. So, I don't have any arguments to say that. But my thing is that I saw how the team played, or rather didn't play. Might work in this tournament format. I don't know if it works in qualifiers. And the question is, what will the players do? Because against Singapore, we need to win 2 matches. We cannot play for a draw. We cannot wait for Singapore attack and hope something happens up front, or we get a throw in and then the ball goes in. That was and is my concern. That we play defensive, I don't have a problem with that. Defensive is fine, but we've gone ultra defensive, and we got away in these matches. Against Afghanistan, we never deserved to get a draw. Sorry to say that. Afghanistan were the better team. But again, this is football. We got something. I'm happy that we got it. But the CAFA Nations Cup is nice to have, but it has no value if I don't do well in the AFC Asian Cup. Because the same people who are now celebrating the success of Khalid Jamil and the team will be the first ones to give Gali and abuse to the same people if they fail against Singapore. And that is the thin line that we are on at the moment, right? Whenever Indian football shows signs of growth, the AFC seems to hold us back. Prime example being the Qatar game against India and then match against Bahrain. Or no. We have to blame ourselves. Don't blame it on the AFC and whatever's happened. What was the problem, huh? Against Qatar? Penalty. Yeah. We had enough time to turn the thing around. Didn't we? Again, and that's what I'm saying. Naushad Musa could have, right? Could have taken Pramve off. And I also say is that if he sees that elbow check in the 47th minute, Pramve goes off. Doesn't even see the second half. But again, no one is going to talk about that. These are the realities of things. We have beaten Colombia 2-1, Thailand from a later in Asian level. We aren't that good. So the inventory problem is a strike in AFC coefficient. Can we beat Singapore and Bangladesh? Rajat, I don't know when we beat Colombia 2-1. Thailand we beat in the Asian Cup. I was there, I remember. It's not striker. It's about finishing, creating. And it's not just strikers, right? It is about us creating chances and opportunities and scoring of them. That is what India needs to do, and we're unable to do that. That's the challenge. Do you think it's surprising India to beat Oman, or we have potential is not the same mistake done back in Guwahati? Murali, I will pick any day the match in Guwahati over the match that we played in the Kafar Nations Cup. Because in Guwahati, we played football, dominated Oman for 70 minutes. We should have been most probably 2-0 up, right? We collapsed in the last 20 minutes and lost 2-1, right? This victory, again, which is in stats, it will be a draw, right? So therefore, a penalty shootout is never calculated in the official stats. In the official stats, it will still show that India has never beaten Oman. I don't know if you know that or recognize that. In official stats, this will be a draw, right? For us to beat Oman is a big achievement. But to me, the second we went into the penalties, I had trust in Gurpreet Singh Sandhu and the way Gurpreet Singh Sandhu has played this tournament. There was an opportunity for us to win this. And that's the way it turned out. People who say referee biased AFC, FIFA doesn't take action accusing Qatar of injustice against India. Murali, FIFA has nothing to do with this. These are the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup qualifiers, so FIFA has nothing to do with this. Is the referee biased? No, he made a mistake, right? How many people, the same people, abuse referees of this, that, everything, or accuse referees of this, that, everything in the ISL, right? And as I say, we choose to say, that's the thing. Constitution, election, Uchud, nothing. Supposedly something is happening this week, but it's already Wednesday evening. I've not heard anything about it. I guess, I don't know. Again, the clock is ticking, 30th October. The clock is ticking. Why doesn't SAF have U23 men's tournament? Hannibal, no idea. SAF is supposed to have, I think they're supposed to have an under-23s, which never had. They're supposed to have that club competition, which we've never had. So, yeah. When is Rahim Ali coming back? Uchud, I don't know. There was some injury with him. That's why he couldn't be part of this camp and then squad. Yeah, we'll have to see if in October is available. People claim that only Bengali fans favor their club over national team, but the reality is that South Indians have more club bias. The reason behind them targeting also everything regarding football comes from this very club bias. Zoravar, I don't know if it's a South Indian thing or it's a general thing, but Mohun Bagan, of course, has not helped its own case in the last few years with decisions that they've made, right? So, for my opinion, if you ask me, that would be my logic to that conversation. But the problem is, of course, yes, there is something, but there's been a considerable shift. In the past, I remember when I saw, and I've mentioned it, I remember in one of my old video interviews to Super Power Football to Ankush, I had said, I don't understand why the Manjapara are always coming to matches and got more of the Blasters logo. Now at least they're coming with their blue and yellow, but they've got India written on it, right? So there's been an involvement. There's been, so therefore for me, there is a club versus country thing which is there. Yes, more in Bengal than anywhere else. But yes, you would say most probably in Kerala and elsewhere, it is sometimes outclassed as well. It became very obvious you're going to produce strikers. Why is that? Where players like Bachubuti and Sunchit have achieved this much, where we're lacking behind? Mehul, they worked hard on themselves. Of course, Baichung was a talent. I am Vijayan before that was an even bigger talent. Sunil worked his way up. Sunil, at the age of where we have now Irfan Yadwad and all these other strikers at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Sunil was not the player that he turned out to be later on, right? So therefore, that is something which these players themselves need to work very, very hard and figure out. Even Steamert was made a superstar during some of 2000. Anibal, and at the same time, I'd also said at the time, right, that if we want to celebrate our success, let's celebrate. I love to say, I was there in Bangalore. I watched those two matches against Lebanon and Kuwait. And I loved it that we won it. I loved the atmosphere and everything. But the reality was that it was never, this tiki-taka and whatever he was talking about, possession football, nothing of that was visible. Kuwait was better than us. Lebanon was better than us, technically, tactically. So let's see. Amol, I am doing fine. Under 17, as far as I know, I think Bibiano's taken over. And Amol, they will soon playing SAF under 17s. And then, of course, later on the year, they will host India will host one of the groups in the AFC under 17 Asian Cup qualifiers. Malik, I also don't want to get caught up in the hype, honestly, but I'm just wondering what else could we hope for? It seems like we tried under previous coaches to play beautiful football, but failed. Malik, yes and no. I think the reality is that Steemert said he would play or he was playing beautiful football. I thought that Steemert, to some extent, was talking about things and it was a little different in reality, right? So that was that. Manolo has a certain way, and so to me, yes, we can't. But to me, is in today's football in the year 2025, you cannot go ultra defensive because you will concede goals. And this is what saved us. We didn't concede a second against Oman. If we concede a second against Oman, that game is over, right? And that is then hoping that somehow something happens up front. Again, hope, wish, luck, not going to happen. You have to have some sort of attacking strategy, which I did not see. Again, if someone saw it, please tell me. But I did not see any attacking intent or strategy in 4 matches of football. That is my concern, right? I will take the third place. I'm very happy with it. And but I cannot deny the realities and the facts in the background. That's why also when you lose, a good friend of mine who was or who still is a top level coach always says, I rather lose once in a while 5-0 because then I can have a go at my own team and try and tell them, because if you lose 2-0 or 3-0 and then you've got the feeling, we were a little unlucky, we're not that bad. Players don't listen. So that is our problem these days. We normally don't lose more by 3 goals, right? So you psychologically think you did okay, not too much of a problem. But the reality is that it could have been, it should have been better, and that is then the challenge, right? More than 38 minutes. Quick reminder: like, share, and subscribe this video, this channel. 11 likes so far. I think we can do better than that, guys. And also, share with other people to watch, and of course, subscribe to the channel. We're growing slowly. Crossed a couple of days back the 2,900 mark. So thank you very much for that. 2,915 at this moment in time. Those of you who might be new, listening, liking our conversation, and ask your questions and be part of the conversations. To be honest, basis of the technical abilities for Indian football, Khalid and Consonant Park, the bus tactic only works for Indian football. Zorawar, I don't think so. I think, again, yes, Stevens, I can understand, but Steven at some stage also has some ideas and wants to play. Khalid is ultra defensive. That's my only concern. And I have a feeling, that the players wanted this. The players, again, with the whole Indian football scenario, it has helped his cause. If we were in last summer, I don't know if the players would have done and gone out to do stuff as they did. Hey Vikram, I'm doing good. Last night I fell asleep while listening to KLNO TV, but then Bahrain scored goals. Suddenly all sleep gone. Dream almost came true, but same old happened. I know we are not best in football. Yeah, but again, so close and yet so far. I think the under 23 success, so to me, sad situation. FIFA World Cup 2026 tickets lottery starts today. $60 tickets for group league matches is cheap considering it's the men's World Cup. Final match tickets are out of question. Okay, Ochud, best of luck that you are able to get tickets. But our luck always worse in this game. Luck never come to our side. Vikram, I think this year, I don't think we have to talk about luck because the India women's got through, right? So I think, That is one. FC Goa getting through against Al Seed. There was some luck in there as well, under 20s as well. So therefore, and even India winning the CAF Nations Cup third place overall, a little bit of luck was there again. And the under 23 sadly didn't have it. Feels like what Khalid Jamil is trying to get done is to get the best out of these players we have. Do you think I'm thinking about this incorrectly? Yes, Malik, I think so. Because if you want to get the best out of these players, then you have to allow the attacking players also to try and play football. Because from the back, your main aim is hit it forward and then let the guys run. You're not trying to play. I'm not asking us to play and combine football, but there are players who can do something with the ball. And you saw that at least for 10, 15 minutes after the 1-1 equalizer against Oman, that Changte and Udanta especially tried to play football, right? And they are capable of playing football and earned corners and this. So therefore, that is what my thing is. Is he defensively, he's getting more than enough the best. But my question is also, and I asked this multiple times, and I even questioned Khalid on that. If you're playing Danish Farouk and you play him 150 minutes, and the boy was struggling throughout those two matches that he played, right? Nobody can tell me anything else. He was struggling. Then you have to ask questions. But again, when you win, who's going to ask the question, right? Again, the biggest problem in football is as long as you're winning, everything is fine. The second you lose, look, good example at the moment is Mohun Bagan, right? Mohun Bagan, super giant, up to the summer, everything was fine. You lose the Duran Cup, Derby against East Bengal, all hell breaks loose and everything is suddenly bad at Mohun Bagan. Not everything was perfect in the summer, but, and, to me, not everything is wrong at Mohun Bagan at the moment. Many teams are about to start preseason. Is the league system sorted or what? No. DDTG, there is nothing sorted because the tendering process or whoever is going to run the tender, that needs to be finalized. And after that, let's see who comes forward and applies for the tender. Don't think U23 players are ready for senior national team. We saw how they fumbled and panicked against a weak team like Brunei. They need to keep together for another qualifier, which is in the next 2 years. Rushabh, yes, some players can stay. Some are older. Some will move out. But as you said, I don't, again, because Yumnam is the player that I feel is ready for senior level football, if you ask me, and someone you can bank on and have as a backup centre back. I like the way Bikash played. And the others all have to do and learn a lot before they become candidates. For a match, did Khalid make just one sub, or am I mistaken? Because several players look visibly drained after 105 minutes. No, he sub players. No, he brought on Manvir Singh. He brought on a goal scorer. Udanta came on, right? So he did make his subs. The fact that national team players are showing hunger shows that ICE is putting them in comfort zone. In my opinion, better for the current crisis continues as will force these players to fight for survival. Yeah, maybe Zoravar, maybe, and so therefore that's the thing. Manolo, Jamil, Igor, what tactical mistake do you think they made? Monali, different ones. Igor spoke about possession football and he never did. Manolo wanted his team to play like FC Goa or Hyderabad FC, but he didn't have the players, and Khalid is too defensive for me. Fellow Indian football fans should understand the competition which are taken seriously by every party, not only by small teams to prove their level. Oh, Roshan, very good point, right? I felt CAF Nations Cup level, not good, right? I did not think, again, if you look at Uzbekistan, Iran, I would like to see if they play this way and both teams would get Spain to play at the level that Spain at the moment is capable of playing, they will be thrashed double digit by Spain. If Turkey concedes 6, and Turkey is not a bad team, Iran and Uzbekistan, the way they played the CAF Nations Cup final, with the squad they played, it will not work. Aren't we getting in the trap of good football again and denying the results? I mean, good football is the one that wins regardless how it looks. I'm not sold on Khalid yet, but he does better against strong opposition, fizz out against average and below average ones. Vaishnav, for me, I don't want good football, but I want basic football to be there. If we are not, if we're playing anti-football, it will, in the long term, it will not work. And the problem is, what I see at the moment is that a large section of Indian football fans is is gullible to those swings, right? And you need to stick to your guns and have your opinions and even withstand. That is what I'm just, the only thing I say again and again and again. For me, it is very, very important that we stand what is right and what is wrong. I did that 2 years ago. I said that when, I was in Bangalore. I could see things with my own eyes where I knew this is not going to work. And if you think that this will work against Singapore, let's see. I wish Khalid evolves and develops, but he has been the same for the last 15, 16, 17 years since his Mumbai FC days. So therefore, does this under a better quality, or does the opposition make them look better? Rito Brotto, again, and others, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt I've never seen a worse Bahrain in the way they're playing. And even this Qatar team looked totally disjointed. I mean, they somehow got through these qualifiers, but this was, with all the problems that we have, I thought, and we did very well. But Qatar and Bahrain were nowhere near. And as I said, even CAF Nations Cup, watching also other matches, I did not like the quality. It was not good. Will it be wise to call up on the Monoam players for the next national camp? Yes, 100% notes to myself. 100%. Right? This whole conversation is nice to have, but we don't have a pool where we can say, you know what, we're so good. I'm going to decide and say, you know what, Apuya, we don't need you. Liston, we don't need you. Manveer, we don't need you. Sahal, we don't need you. Anirudh Thapa, we don't need you. Deepak Tangri, we don't need you. All of these players will be needed as backups. So therefore, yes, we will need those players. But what else a manager can do better than these bunch of players playing in national against attacking, especially attacking players? DDTG, the point is that a coach of the Indian national team, his job is, with the players we have, and with the foreigners not being there, you have to give the players the tools to try and do stuff. Your attacking players were asked, listen, I'm punting the ball forward, run after it. Be it Uwais, be it Anwar, be it Rahul Beke, be it Valpuya, whoever was playing in the different, or Sandesh, most of the time the ball was being flung forward and you were hoping something will happen. And for me, that is the main thing. The attacking players, again, yes, they had opportunities again, and strikers will be judged by that. And on that front, if you say Irfan Yadwad failed, and I will say, yes, I thought Irfan Yadwad was a little further down the development route, but like also what we saw with the under-23s, he was too hectic or panicky whenever he got a good chance to finish it off. He had two good opportunities and he was hectic. And then you don't make the right decision, or you don't make the right contact. That is what you need to work on. Surprised to see you always having a negative concept about everything on nation. No, I don't. I live in reality. Knows to myself, why do I have a negative? Again, what good have you seen that you would say that this is something which has changed? The same thing was there yesterday. And if you don't want to recognize that, if I'm the only one, then I will be the only one. I am there to question things because I have seen enough of these things myself, personally. I'm not watching from afar. I said from close by. So therefore, I know these things. And if nobody's raising these topics, right? So therefore, that's the problem. Israel, Italy, what a match! They almost shocked Italy. Yeah. Leading 4-2, 4-4, and then 5-4 for Italy. Hi, Siva. Still, people are doing club was but Didi, TG, that's going to happen, sadly, right? Should AFC and FIFA start using VR in the qualifiers? Also, AFC Asian Cup qualifiers, World Covers. Saurabh, it's a question of money. It's a question of cost, right? And VR is not your answer. Saurabh, look at the Premier League, look at the Bundesliga, look at La Liga, look at the Euros last year. Kukurea handball. What would you do? This is a general question. Let's say you have VR and the VR gives the penalty for Qatar against India because even the VR referee thinks, hey, listen, that contact was enough for the player to go down and get a penalty. What do you do then? The argument then shifts from the referee on the field to the VR decision. Watching on TV and in the stadium is a big difference. Massive, Mayank. To me, I feel if I want to read a game, want to read a match, you have to be in the stadium. You cannot be at home or in the stands, at home and watching on telly. Because the TV just shows you a tiny fraction of the game. If you're watching, that's what I always say, if you watch a whole game, you can see things which you cannot see on television because television is geared up to the action where the ball is. You're not watching the whole field. That is the biggest difference. Is it that because Monroe resigned in such fashion that the AIFF decided to go with Indian coach? No, Chetan. It was certain people wanted an Indian coach and therefore they've done it. What attack is basic that you are weak, then your opponents then play safe and wait for that mistake is not the correct mentality. Wait, what attack? It's basic that if you're weak, then your opponents then play safe and wait for that mistake. Is not that the correct mentality? No. Because can you sustain the pressure for 90 minutes? So therefore, for me, you need to have the situations where you reduce the pressure on your defensive setup. Dada, what's your opinion on did more management intentionally revert during cup failure with players injury issue? I don't know. Again, I think whatever diversion or whatever was the idea behind the thing, it hasn't worked, right? The fans were not buying this, right? That because Mohun Bagan fans are spoiled with success. You will not be able to divert that by saying, you know what, we've had this issue with Shubhashish, national team, and this and that, everything. But again, no. And the fans are asking now the right questions. A lot of Mohun Bagan fans are now finally asking the right question. Where is the infrastructure? Where is the grassroots and youth? And where is the women's team? Right? So, and where is, also foreign defensive midfielder? Sorry, my mistake. It wasn't Colombia, it was Cameroon. In U6, if anybody defeated them, Rohit Dano and Melvin. And then scored. We didn't see them much. We just need a goal getter. Yeah, but Rajat, Rohit Dano, winger, never an attacker. But it was in Cameroon. We also beat once in the Nehru Cup. With this league system reset, do you think player salaries will be reduced? Let's see what kind of a reset, if a reset we get. That's the first question. And then let's see who picks up what and what kind of budgets we are talking about. It's on the clubs. The problem is a lot of clubs have players on the books till 27, till 28. Some of the players even till 29 and 30, right? So they have 2, 3, 4, 5-year contracts. I agree with your point about not playing the players that were seen struggling, but for this tournament, we didn't have the best players we think would have done better, not giving excuses, but it's true. Yeah. Well, again, as I said, to me, if Naushad Musa had the Mohun Bagan boys, he would have at least had options. Again, also with the senior team, I don't know, you don't know, we don't know if the Mohun Bagan players would have been there, would have been better or not. Should have been, right? So therefore, you never know. Again, this is all theoretical discussion because we can't go into a parallel universe and then say, okay, these players are there and let's see what happens. I would say it again, international football is not a league, so you got to win matches. Ultra defensive will not work in most cases. Uchut, you said it the other day. I remember in the live. I totally agree with you with that. But again, for us to be talking the way we talk, and with the reality that we know, you can't say much because yeah, we had success with these tactics. When hell was Qatar a better team? Tell that. Qatar normally is a much better team than us. I mean, look at the senior level football, even at junior level. I've watched them myself in Doha or in the Emirates. They're much better than us. I think Qatar were in send the reserve squads. I don't know, Zoravar. Also, a very important topic. Now, a few months is silent. Any updates? No, there isn't any update, Rushwa, because there was never a talking point because the government of India, as you talk, allow it's never no the sports bill or the sports act. It's mentioned interaction with the diaspora. Very generic. What does that mean, right? Why do you think strikers in India panic whenever they're in front of goal? This lack of composure is the case of almost every Indian striker. That's a good question, Zoravar. What's the answer to that? What could be the answer to that? I think how have you've been brought up? How did you learn to play football? Have you been taught at grassroots youth level to be composed when you finish, right? And therefore for me that is the big challenge in all of this is, are you in a position to get into the position, stay cool, stay calm, and finish? That was always that special skill that a Baichung Bhutia had. Baichung Bhutia got into spaces, stayed calm, and boom, would put the balls in. Sunil did not have it early on, to be very honest, right? It developed with time. And that is something why I always say, why do our players peak in their 30s? Because we are not ready at a young age. We was in Kafa too, but that what about first match of India against Tajik is not the VR. DDTG, it is easy for you if you are having a tournament in two stadiums per se, right? In two places, that you can do that. Now, the problem is if you look at the qualifiers which happen across Asia, it's very difficult. In Europe, for example, we've had VR installed, so it's either all or none, and that's the whole problem at the moment with the AFC. Good evening, Simon. Our boys took too much pressure yesterday. Yes, 10 plus goal wasn't just a piece of cake whatsoever. Simon, of course, you have to score, but if I go back, to the game, if you score 2 goals after 7 minutes, you are actually on a good track, right? Score every 5-7 minutes. You can get, if you've gotten to 6-7 goals at halftime, it would have worked. But again, we're talking about coolness, calmness. Are you able to score and keep it? And we couldn't do that. That is, I think, our biggest failure. If you ask me, from what I saw, yeah, to me that's something where we failed. We failed with the composure. Of course, the Brunei players were throwing themselves in every shot. The goalkeeper was doing whatever he could. Yeah, very difficult. Thanks for answering to our question, patience. Welcome, Narendra. I try and do that, yeah. Again, once more, the reminder, guys, just cross the hour mark. If you haven't, like, share, and subscribe. Again, I need your support. Also, 17 likes so far. Yeah, do watch the shorter videos. I did something on the under 23s yesterday about winning finishing third, and the other things. So do watch those videos, keep supporting the channel. And again, as I say, I can only grow with your support. Without your support, this channel cannot grow. And thanks a lot once more. Allow OCI is good decision for better and promote also improve. Yeah, Rushwa, it is, but it's not gonna, right? OCI is not going to happen. In fact, there are talks of scrapping OCI card itself due to rising hate against Indians. Many Indian politicians blaming Indian diaspora for all the hate. So, however, yeah, there are different conversations happening. Let's see what happens. Do you have any news about Srinidhi Deccan coming to ISL? Narendra, they've put out a very weird statement in public, which I still haven't understood what they were trying to, to me, the main issue is that I think there's no clarity about how many teams, what league, what structure, and therefore we'll have to wait and see what happens. But if you're weak, then your opponents in terms of skills and quality, only then thing you can do is hard work. So sustaining 90 minutes is better than going to score and concede through counter-attacks. So TG, I'm not saying you cannot sustain for 90 minutes. We are not an Italian defensive unit where we can sustain pressure for 90 minutes. We're going to concede. And you will see over the years, we concede, especially in the last few minutes. My problem is that if you're trying to, I'm not saying to play open and create gaps. No, keep your defensive shape, keep your defensive unit, but you're committing 3-4 people up front anyway in your attacking unit, right? So then use that unit, play football to a little bit at least. If you're going to just punt out the ball and hope that someone does something with it, which is, again, Jamshedpur FC, you do that, right? But you've got a Javi Hernandez who picks up the ball and he can do something with it. And then has, I don't know, Javi Siverio or maybe a Jordan Murray to finish it off. You don't have that in a national team. So therefore, the Oman match is going to be an example which will not work for us. The Afghanistan match will not be an example which will work for us because we were lucky in those games. Let's be honest about that. Will FIFA not consider the swim involving in the tendering process third-party influence? Again, I may be wrong. No, Simon, it's not. If, again, the third-party influence was, if AIFF had gone to them in April and said, listen, they've stopped our league, that would have been third-party interference. But not now, the tendering process, which they are trying to stabilize. Because why? Because the AFC is involved in it by one of their persons in it. India is moving out to there. This is not late. Navinder, as far as I know, if the ISL happens, Hyderabad FC under the BS Jindal group will play from Delhi. Hey, Rachit, good to see you back. Yes, I'm doing fine. Looking younger than before. Thank you. I'm not feeling that, but thanks a lot. Thank you, Rachit. Missing Mumbai seriously in all the fun. Hopefully, things will sort out soon. We see Mumbai owning it again. Let's hope so. Did Kafa receive more eyeballs because of India? If so, does it mean Kafa will win for more with India's presence? Do you think India is good enough to play Kafa as opposed to SAF? Anupam, we are not moving to Kafa. Again, and this is something that Maulik also was curious about your take on that, about moving to a different regional conference, Kafa or the ASEAN side. Is that even practical? No. Why? Because we are part of SAF. We are a key factor of SAF and of the SAF region, and therefore us moving anywhere is not something that is on the cards. Yes, they will have had more reach, but the reach is one thing. But are they making any extra money because of us? Right? I had someone the other day telling me, what is the value of India in global football? And I thought it was a very valid and very good question. Like, yeah, what is the value? What's the what money can we put on it? And then we realized, I realized, we are in a situation of we're actually not contributing anything to global football in that way financially. You've had your Middle Eastern influence, you've had your Chinese influence, the Americans do that, even smaller countries elsewhere. But internationally, the eyeball factor is very, very nice. But it is the hard sponsorship dollars which decide if you're of value or not these days. Or actually, it's been for a while. And again, the eyeballs, yeah, that's reality. Now, if we demand for patience and strikers, and AIFF will now hire a yoga guru session for national team. DDTG, that is not what I'm seeing regarding patience. It's calm and quiet. Calm and quiet finished is something either you learn it at some stage, you maybe intuitively do it. As I said, Bachung Bhutia was able to do that. I'm Vijayan was able to do that. Sunil had to learn it the hard way. And that is something, cool and calmness, can you do it or can't you do it? And that's the challenge for these boys to learn. Although I agree that will not solve the problem at home. Yeah? That's it. It makes, again, we are part of SAF. And again, the CAFA Nations Cup to me, not the level of football that I thought that it would be. Afghanistan made us taste our own medicine. No, I don't think so. Did Afghanistan, again, I don't understand. Did Afghanistan play defensive against us? We were defensive against Afghanistan. Afghanistan tried to play football. But again, Afghanistan has a certain level, which normally I would say is not as good as ours. But again, in the last 3 matches, we've gone 2 draws and a loss. So if I just look at the stats, yeah, and Afghanistan had the better chance. If Gurpreet doesn't make those 2 key saves, one in the first and one in the second, if one of those goes in, we lose the match. Without Gurpreet Singh, we would have lost all 3 matches by big margins. Yeah, most probably. Most probably, Bablu's animation. AC Krishna, in your stadium quality, your thoughts on that? Murali, yeah, that's and if the stadiums are not good enough, you can't play in them. The Kanti Rava has been a problem for a while. It's in shambles. I remember 2 years ago when we saw the SAF semi-finals and finals, it was literally falling apart. Kochi has the same problem, right? So, yeah. It's quite surprising as hockey struggled in finance. No, it's not, because it's not followed that much, right? So therefore, that's your problem, right? Is success of a sport doesn't mean it is going to be financially successful. News about any alternative going to European club in Slovakia? This I have not heard anything so far. Financially, we're contributing watching matches on third-party website. DDTG, what's your financial contribution? I know you mean it as a joke, but third-party websites, where is the value even for the third-party website? There is no value, no. Because there is no value, no one wants to really pick up the rights, And that should be the worrying part, right? When people say, listen, pay 19 rupees or pay 25 rupees to watch Indian football, people are looking, where is the free steam, right? People go to football matches, go to stadiums and don't want to pay money, because we need to, if we don't want to, we're not willing to pay money, to put money on the table, it's going to be very difficult to get things going, right? That's a big, in my opinion, it's a huge problem. Huge problem. That in Indian football, the fans want everything for free. The world isn't free. If you're not willing to spend on matches, if you're not willing to spend on tickets, if you're not willing to spend on merchandise and not support your national team or clubs, nothing will happen. Without striker, we can't beat weaker teams. Sunil always has helped against such teams under Constantine speak. Anand, he helped even before that. He started in Bob Houghton days. He helped, and throughout, whoever was the coach between Bob and Steven. So even under Igor, right? Afghanistan players playing in 5th, 6th division, Sweden mainly, and other leagues have been better technically than us. That's a fact, hard to resist. But Simon, the problem is that these boys have learned their football, right? They've learned their football. They've learned their basics. I mean, I was talking to someone, Bilal Arizu, 36-year-old now, right? Based in Norway. So to me, yeah, you're talking 5th, 6th, Sweden, Norway. Again, we're not even talking about Germany. So we're talking about level which in Germany would be 7th, 8th division. And our players want to play pro in Europe. Any upcoming strikers to look for in under 720 matches? Narendra, no one who has really caught my eye. Our problem is we're not, so therefore for me, our problem is our players, the strikers are starting to get composure at 25, 26. And then the growth happens after that. Any hopes from U20? Seems like Ishfaq making NBA squad. Anand, I don't think Ishfaq is doing that. Ishfaq, you know, um, Ishfaq said something, but again, it was taken out of context. I remember I spoke to him last year at the Derby in the ISL, and Ishfaq said, "Listen, what did I say? I said, listen, I will. If I don't have quality, then I will go for height. If I don't have quality, then I will go for height." That's his logic, and I can't say much to that. Financially, why football is a lot more difficult sport in India, not like kabaddi or cricket, because cricket is financially controls. Kabaddi numbers are not working. Anyone who's saying that kabaddi is successful, sorry, from what I hear, we've been told by people, kabaddi numbers are not adding up. So those are realities. Difficult sport because it's a global sport, and we need international success. We need success of the league, and for that, a lot. Again, as I said, the fans, if their fans want to, may have to pay their share to be part of it, and not want everything free stream. The old question. A little controversial. What your take on whenever boys doing well in European tournament? I understand some of us 7-7 with rolling south, but good exposure, experience, and exposure, ignoring the owner. Malik, no, I don't think so, because again, as you say, you're playing 7-a-side. You're playing mostly grassroots teams. You're not even playing academies. I would have rather said, come to Germany, go to Spain, go to France, and play academy teams 11-a-side in 90-minute matches. Play 3-4 real good matches. That would be more important than what you played, because these tournaments are grassroots tournaments and not really competitive ones. Ishan Pandita is good finisher, but coaches don't start him. What is he missing? Work rate? No, Anand. Ishan is a good super sub. Ishan is not a player that you play 90 minutes. So yeah. That's his problem. He needs to play 90 minutes. Who's going to give him that? Are those Afghani players made by the country itself, or it's support of any other country or peace PROs? Yeah. DDTG, most of them are origin players, so what you will call OCIs. Hi, Blue. What's your opinion about how Ashish Negi made the news? Because some AIFF officials said Manu called for Shah and dropping Java's cause of lobbying, etc. Blue, do you think, just a simple question to you and everybody else, does anybody think that if you tell Manuel Marquez you have to pick XYZ player, that Manuel Marquez would pick XYZ player and would drop someone else? Just asking a question. Simple question, right? There are so many rumors that people put out these days where I say, so that's, I don't know. That's coaching any youth team. Now I think we went as a 17-20 coach. Yeah, RRC game, that's a fact. When will see considerable impact all state federation? Anand, let the new constitution come out. The state federations, state associations also, there need to be some adjustments and changes, but that's going to happen, I think, in the next step. Let's let the constitution come out, and then we'll see what happens. I feel there's reasonable argument from both sides. There is those who put performance over investing in Indian football, and fans who support for the development cause. Yeah, could be. But we should support our voice even in the laws, not just boycott, as some so-called creators say. Simon, the problem is, now everybody is celebrating it, but now is the time to be critical and say, these and these things didn't work. And that's the problem. That's the problem, right? I saw a reel that our youth teams in most sports are good, but later they become bad. Why is that? Ketan, which sports are we good at youth and then become bad later on? I wouldn't know. The less said, the better, right? Yeah, I guess people are basically asking us to have no opinion on players. Blue, the president of the AIFF can have an opinion. The vice president of the AIFF can have an opinion. The treasurer of the AIFF can have an opinion. Everybody in the executive committee can have an opinion, and they can even have a word. I mean, I go back that I've had a lot of conversations with coaches in the past in regard to their squad selections. One coach actually used to discuss his squad selection with me, and would discuss, hey, what do you think, this and that, everything, and I would give him my opinion. But the decision at the end of the day has to be the coach, right? But for me, what I've realized with both with Manolo and both with Manolo and with Khalid is there a realization, understanding of which player can works for me, it doesn't work for me at international level. Danish Farouk at the moment doesn't work. Vishal Kate didn't work, right? So those are my good examples, and that is what the coaches need to filter out. That's the biggest challenge. What do you think about Asian Cup qualifying matches? Does India have a chance now, mixing senior players, new players? Saza, I don't think U23 players will have much of an impact, but nothing has changed for me. If we play like we played the CAF Nations Cup, it's hope. It's hope and wishful thinking. There is no strategy behind it. That's my fear because those matches really count. So it's not the infra as Afghanistan, African countries are examples of that. T2TG infrastructure is not the most important thing. The most important thing is grassroots coaching, youth coaching, competitions, exposure. Nothing more, nothing less. The grassroots infrastructure is a bonus. Most players around the world play on inferior pitches at a younger age. How do you evaluate U20 performance? Many fans didn't have any kind of expectation on performance they do in my opinion. Goku, as I said before, I didn't have any expectations going into these qualifiers. We knew that Bahrain have at the moment not that good an under 23 team, which was clearly visible. I didn't expect Qatar to be that bad. I mean, this is one of the worst teams I've seen. But what I liked about Naushad Musa's team compared to Khalid Jamil's team, that Naushad Musa's team tried to play football. Not everything was perfect, but these boys tried to play football. And that is the big difference between the under 23s and the senior team. The senior team is, I shut shop and then I hope something, happens. And so therefore for me, it was good. But there was something missing in the end that we couldn't qualify for the AFC under 23 Asian Cup. And that's also a reality. That comes from this perception at the youth levels, especially age between 10 70 players, there was almost the same, but the problem arises between 17 20 age gap. Simon, I don't think we are as good as we think we are in the 11 to 17. So therefore, I think we have a big problem from the age of 0 to about 21, 22, 23. Again, these U20 will go Europe, they are already under long-term contracts. Do they want to go abroad? Do they realistically know where they could play in Europe? I mean, that would be my question to these boys. That's the challenge now. So I don't see anyone really venturing. After many years of frustration, this month was a relief for Indian football fans. Yeah, it was. It was, but there's a lot of work which remains, right? Because off the field, it is still tense, and that is the question, Which is top 3 football academies in India for young kid? I guess BFC, FC Goa, and most probably Jamshedpur FC would be or Tata Football Academy would be most probably, yeah. Oh no, I would have to add Classic Football Academy into the mix. So, yeah, one amongst those 4, I would say. U23 was entertaining to watch compared to seniors. Yes, Babulu's animation. But I don't agree to this, but that logic should also produce a Lama. Exactly, Sam. So we don't know. With respect to, therefore, I don't see us being good at youth levels. I don't know. Therefore, I say, who is creating those reels? Who is telling you what? I'm very, very careful these days with all that is being pushed and sent out on social media, because we aren't as good as we think we are. So senior defense, Mohammad Subhajan midfield, it could be a combination that would work. Good. Yeah. Does it have to? I don't know. Recently, I've seen Reliance regional competition where U9 ended 11 under 10, only 6 matches only played. Okay, good. No, I don't. I don't rate it amongst the best. You asked me, I was asked the best in the country. I don't rate them as one of the best in the country. Sorry. Right? You asked me, and again, I think those four are the amongst we discussed. Player slipping in Sri Lanka was due to dew and cold and wrong studs. Do you concur or you have a different opinion? Anupan, players slip for wrong studs, right? And not dew and cold. Again, they were slipping also in Tajikistan, right? So then, if you don't have the wrong boots with long enough studs, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself on the field, and that's happening across games, across matches, right? So yeah, that's the thing. Shillong is different weather than where you are elsewhere, right? He said, "Are you trying to team play? Joy to watch football. Is it true that we can't play this type of football with every team? But we're lucky that at least they're playing like that." Yeah, they tried. So for me, um, they tried to play football, and as much as that Qatar defeat hurts, I still give credit to the boys that the boys actually, even with 10 men, tried to play football and tried to at least get an equalizer. Right? That's the difference. Should the RFC be retained? I think the concept is correct, but the structure isn't more a longer duration of games than must. Simon, if Reliance pulls out, RFDL is gone. Right? So what retention are you talking about? Right. Which player do you think can break into top league easily? Goku, which players and which leagues do you mean? Do you mean under 23s into ISL, or do you mean any Indian players into foreign leagues? I mean, very, if you could clarify which you mean, then I will try and answer your questions or question. Sorry. 1 hour 22 minutes. Once more reminder: 30 of you are watching. Thanks a lot. Like, share, and subscribe. 24 likes so far. Share with other people to join into our conversation. And those of you who are new, maybe watching, subscribe to the channel, ask questions, and as I do from everybody, I try and answer those. And watch the shorter videos. I did something today about the under 23s losing. Before that, India, Oman, and all these other videos, of course, about what has been happening in Indian football. Thanks for all the views. The Oman India watch along has been my most watched live ever, with more than 6,500 people watching. So thanks for that, and yeah, thanks for as always for your support. Indian players in foreign league. There's no Indian player who can break into in a foreign league easily. So difficult. Can Indian Rise be reintroduced in ISL or I-League, as it's evident these alternatives will not get much game time here in clubs? I don't know. I would like it to return, yes, in the I-League at least. I think the problem is now going to be the funding part, right? As with everything else, it's a question of money. Yes or no, that, but I hope it is by the new tender. Let's see. If any team withdrew from into the Asian Cup, so there's any chance that India can play? Kunal, it depends on who withdraws and how that can impact. I think it's internally and amongst the groups that if that something happens. Can JSW do a better job than Reliance for Indian football? Anand, JSW has done their job via BFC and via their programs, and they're doing good. And can they do an overall better job? I don't know. That is something that would have to be proven. And it was so many Indian players going to Slovenian clubs. Bro, there is a contact of an agency over there, and therefore, yeah, they've been placed over there. Won't you consider PFC and top academies also Karabas FC? Blue Punjab FC would have to prove to me another year or two if they are, and Karabas FC is not a top academy. They're a good finisher in regard to reserve team and first team, but they don't have that great an academy so far because they're picking up players. They are doing the same thing what East Bengal and Mohun Bagan do in Kolkata, picking up players from smaller teams, right? Opinion about U17 women's team performance, Safans, and can they qualify? mindset mastery, they did very, very well. But now they've got the qualifiers, Central Asian teams, always difficult to play. I wish we can make it 3 out of 3 in the women's game. So yeah, let's hope and wish the girls all the best and that they make the qualifiers. I think that's the most important thing. That would be great for our football, right? So therefore, that's a very important step if under 17s could also, because then they get the exposure at Asian level. The under 20s will get their exposure at Asian level. The senior team will get an exposure at Asian level, and that will overall, help our system. Rumor of Matan Raina offered by foreign top division club just after it was true or not? Vishwajit, I've only heard the rumors. I honestly don't know. Hi Vijesh, gutted by this result. Don't you think AIFF should start hosting these qualified groups and another home advantage? Vijesh, we're doing it at under 17. We're hosting the under 17 qualifiers, yeah. Will introduction of African players imitating by their dribbling will increase the fair audience of Indian League, or will something else work? DDTG, I think, the African players' time in Indian club football is gone. We've moved away to players from Spain, from England, of course, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay. So yeah. Do you appreciate Strom's move back to Slovenia? I think he still lacks the experience to become a first-choice keeper, like we saw on Kerala Blasters. Simon, yes, but he gets better training. So you realize with Gurpreet Singh Sandhu what better training does for you. So I think that's good for Som. And let's see. I hope he becomes a better footballer. Football is quite prevalent in East, Northeast, South, and particularly West, partially West, and yet clubs still need to break even. Does it mean the inclusion of North is what's holding football down? No. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the commercial value of Indian football is not that it can be made profitable. Anupam, so it doesn't mean what region or what not. The region is not important. It's just the fact that a TV channel is willing to say, you know what, I want to spend on Indian football, and that is something which is lacking. So therefore that's the thing. That's where we're stuck. In my view, many talented Okay, Vishwajit, let me wait for your full statement before I try and answer it, before I get to the end slowly to this, nearly 1.5 hours on this 10th of September. Sad to see our under 23s losing out and not making it to the final round in Asia, and the senior team winning the CAFA Nations Cup third place playoff, which is good, but I'm worried about the style and the way that we got there, because I don't know if it's going to work against Singapore, Bangladesh, and Hong Kong. Those are the matches that count, So, let's see. What do you think about new ISL tenders and new party interested to invest in football? Kunal, as far as I know, no one is really. But again, it might change. Let the tender come out. Let's see what kind of figures are in there. We will have to wait. See, why City Football not investing like they are doing in Australia for academies? Because in Australia you're able to make money back, and you're reinvesting money. In India, it's a one-way street. You're investing money. Nothing is coming back to you. So if no one's interested in why Tata and Jez are still running great academies as they're surviving, DDTG, the Tata Football Academy was running even at the time when there was no national level football. It's been running since 1987. And JSW has been doing it. So let's wait and see let's see what happens. Again, I hope for the best. Some wild results this time. World Cup qualifiers: Germany losing to Slovakia, Norway having Moldova, Bolivia defeating Brazil, and of course Cape Verde, very close to qualifying to the World Cup. An island of less than 500,000 people, 5 lakhs. So let's see. Iceland may just be back. I really like the young group of talented players. Yeah, Simon could be interesting as well. So therefore, crazy World Cup qualifiers, but let's wait and see what happens. 1 hour, 30 minutes just completed. So coming to an end for this live. Once more, a reminder, like, share, and subscribe. Spread the word, hype the videos, support the videos, watch the short videos. We've been getting a lot of views in the last few days, so do keep it up, watch them, and I'll be back very soon And to answer the last question, DTGG, how academies generate profits back? Academies normally don't make profits. Academies around the world are normally an expenditure. You make profits at the top level, and that is then spent on the academies. Gute Nacht, good night, Simon. Thanks a lot. Again, we're slowly growing. We're closing in on the 3,000 mark. So help me get closer to that in the coming weeks. I'll be back tomorrow with another live. I speak to you then. Good night, everyone. Catch you soon.